LBC 97.3. Call 0845 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC 973. This is London's biggest conversation with Julia Hartley-Brewer.
Good afternoon to you. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. This is LBC 97.3, London's biggest conversation. Live in the studio with me right now is the RMT leader, Bob Crow. He's here taking your calls on 0845 6060 973. Don't forget you can tweet questions as well at LBC 973, or you can text 84850, email julia@lbc.co.uk. You know all that. Let me remind you what's coming up a little bit later, as if this wasn't the event you've been waiting for. After 3 o'clock, we'll be taking your calls about, well, how much has your bank helped or hurt your business? With the shocking news today that two of them part state-owned banks, Royal Bank of Scotland and Lloyds, are standing accused of deliberately ruining viable small businesses, thousands of them, by calling in loans, putting on charges to force them under to take their assets. It's absolutely unbelievable. If it wasn't so likely. I'd be interested to hear your experiences with that. Also asking, are you already stressed about Christmas? It's exactly a month to go. I know, it freaks me out as well. But 4 out of 10 people in a latest poll say they find Christmas very stressful, and 1 in 3 want it all over as soon as possible. Are you among them? We'll get to all that later in the show. First up, though, my pleasure, as always, to invite and to welcome Comrade Crow into the studio. You've got a lovely tan on you. Where have you been? It's
a Tenerife tan out in Canary Islands last week, swimming away in the sea. Well, it was the first snow fell in parts of Britain last week. It was nice to be chilling out on the Canary Islands.
Oh, well, the bosses managed to do that. It's not so good for the workers, is it? Bob, we have to ask you, first of all, and don't forget, by the way, you don't just have to listen to Bob Crow. You can see him live on our website, lbc.co.uk, in all his technical glory. You can look at his very nice Tenerife November tan, looking very well indeed, I have to say. I love that, I know, yeah.
George Clooney, the trade union movement.
Do you know what, though? It is uncanny when you walked in. I did wonder. Don't forget, you can call in with your questions. We'd very much like to hear from you. 0845 6060 973 is the number to call. Now, Bob, obviously, while you were off swimming in the very warm seas in the Canary Islands, you missed last Thursday's huge announcement from TfL, from the London Underground, that the tube is going to go 24 hours at weekends. There are also job losses. Can we just concentrate on the 24 hours at the weekend? I'd like to know, this is great news, isn't it?
Well, number one, it's fantastic news for those people who want to use the tube 24 hours a day, myself included. However, the proposals by the Mayor is a complete nonsense. He used it purely as spin. It was good news trying to defeat terrible news, and that's what he came up with. So rather than telling people he's going to be all these job losses, he says the tube is going to be open on 5 lines 24 hours a day. Now, the first thing I would say to people is not me trying to be arrogant like I know it all, which I don't know it all. The crucial time for engineering work is night time. Obviously, when the trains stop running and the electricity goes off, the track maintainers have around about 3.5 hours midweek, and they have around about 5.5 hours on a Saturday night to do essential maintenance work. So he's going to take out basically 10 hours of work that can be done by the maintainer. So where's he going to get the tracks maintained if the amount of engineering time is going to be cut by 2 nights a week? So where's he going to do that? Is he going to take on loads more people to maintain the track? I don't think so. But then he turns around and says, the trains are run all night, but then take 1,000 people out. Now, I've got to say, and most people have used the Underground, not everyone uses the Underground to go drinking, but a vast lot of people coming home at night time, particularly around about 1 o'clock, 12:30, that last train, is very rowdy. People have had a lot to drink in them, becoming incoherent, could cause safety problems as well. But you've got basically 2 staff on every station, on the outer line stations at the moment. That's going to be cut down to 1. Do you really want your wife, your girlfriend, your daughter coming home at 3, 4 in the morning with a vast bunch of drunks on the train with one singular person? Now, if we're going to talk about all-night running, I'm for talking about all-night running, but I want to make sure that our staff can get home safely in a staff taxi. I want to see that there's maximum amount of staff on the Underground, more staff, in fact, to cope with that kind of service. And we want to know that the British Transport Police are going to be available in the event of assaults taking place.
There are negotiations with the police on that, aren't there?
Well, I say negotiations with the police, isn't it? I mean, let's face it. I mean, he tells the police what their resources are. So this is to save money. So how's he then going to fund the money for extra police resources? Are they going to be at Chesham Station at 12 o'clock at night? Are they going to be at Epping Station at 3 o'clock in the
Is
morning.
the tube going to be any less safe at 3 o'clock in the morning than it is at, say, 11 o'clock midnight now? Given that a lot of people are getting that last tube home, it's busier and busier at night. They're getting that last tube because there aren't later tubes. And actually, if it was all staggered, for want of a better word, as it probably would be with a lot of the drunks on a Friday or Saturday night, me included, actually it would be safer.
I don't think so, because I don't think the theatre will change their times. I don't think cinemas will change their times, and restaurants. Most people will still go out at the same time to go to the restaurant and theatre. What the tube will use for is the late night clubs. And people get into clubs and go home from clubs.
Well, also a lot of people who work who currently have to wait hours for night buses or have to pay for expensive taxis. There are lots of people who work in central London.
He's not bringing this in for cleaners or nurses getting to work in the morning. He was making it quite clear that he's bringing this in for the West End. Now, that's all fine. Now, if we're going to have an all-night service, we can do it. But the fact of the matter is, how can you take 1,000 members of staff out of the stations and still think that the travelling public are going to have the security and the vision of people being there to help them?
But wait a minute, when we're talking about taking staff out of the ticket offices, those people are sitting behind a window, behind a door. They're not there on the trains. They're not there on the platforms. They're not even, let's be honest, most of the time they're in the actual, the ticket area, the barriers area where you actually need them. Then they say, I'm not doing London Underground's PR for them. They say in their press release that they're going to be having staff out at the ticket barriers. Now, as a woman who often travels alone at night, I would say that's more use to me than someone sitting in an office.
But there's someone on the ticket barrier anyway. When you have the machines that you put your tickets into, you've got to have a member of staff there, because if the machine breaks down, someone's got to open it up. The ticket office staff just don't sell tickets. They come out and help out on the stations as well. And more importantly than that, it's all right people saying, oh yeah, you don't need to get your tickets from a ticket office no more. It is true, there's all these apps, there's all these ways of getting tickets over the internet. But what about if you're poorly sighted and you can't use an app? How are they going to get their ticket? What about the tourists who stream off the trains at St Pancras by going 1 hour 50 from Brussels and then queue up 40 minutes to get a ticket now with the ticket offices for at King's Cross? So how are they going to get a ticket? And the fact is that it's not just about selling tickets is the issue, is having a presence on the station that people know that they're members of staff. It makes them feel safer. I mean, some of these train stations on the outer skirts of London are muggers' paradises. And some of these crooks that are about...
Well, hold on a minute. You're saying they are muggers' paradises. So they are already. So if the situation you say is already unsafe, we need more staff. Not the current amount isn't enough anyway. I'm
talking about staff outside the services outside London Underground. I'm talking about South East trains, for example. Some of their services have no one there at all whatsoever. London Underground has always been proud that there's a person on their station 24 hours a day. Sometimes there's 2 people. And when there's no necessity for these cuts. You've got 3.2 million people using London Underground a day now. And over the course of the next decade, it's going to go to 3.5 million. Crossrail is going to open up. More and more people are going to be using the Underground. And what makes London Underground special is that there's plenty of staff around the place. Go to Leicester Square Station now, go there.
You can barely move for the staff, to be fair. Sometimes they're a bit in the way.
But you need them, Julia.
OK, can we go back to something you said straight...
40,000 people an hour using the station.
When you first mentioned this, you talked about no time for engineering work, 10 hours being taken out of engineering work. And this was always the argument about why we couldn't have a 24-hour tube, and one that many of us accepted. However, there are underground systems around the world. I mean, Paris is the nearest one, which work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How do they manage when we can't?
Well, totally separate ways of operating, and that becoming sort of like an anorak here, boring the life out of people.
Go on,
is that
be a bit
they have more than 2 lines, for example. They can use the trains on 3 lines and shut a complete line down. What we have to understand about London Underground, it is the original metro system. It was set up 150, 160 years ago. It's got old infrastructure. No one's fault at all, by the way, of the old infrastructure. It's Victorian. So you just can't change the infrastructure overnight. And it is crucial that the maintenance has got to be done. Now, it can be done. For example, you could have an extra 15% of staff work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday and Sunday. And on Saturday and Friday, there's no maintenance done. But he hasn't thought this out at all. All Johnson does, as the mayor, he comes up with all these brave ideas. First one is going to be a no-strike deal, remember? That was going to be his big one.
I like that one.
Oh, of course you would like it, because you
I get the tube.
Because you don't want workers to go on strike. You want them to be...
No, I want the tube to work.
No, you would like them to be oppressed. That's the reason why you don't like it. And secondly, he didn't get his no-strike deal because he didn't even spoke to us about it. Then he's going to have driverless trains, which is all nonsense as well. Would you want to get on a train, pregnant, 800 people on the train? The train breaks down in the tube and you can't get off the train? Is that what the underground system that we really want? Where he's going to cut these train captains? So he gets away with that argument. So he comes with this new argument. All it is I want to be popular to be the Prime Minister, Johnson. He changes his ideas. No doubt that many times he changes his pants every day, the bloke. If he does change them once a day, I don't know. But that's
let's not have that thought in our head, Bob. Really,
that's how bad he's really pushed us. Whether he changed his pants or not every day.
You think this is going to be unsafe because before last week's announcement, the RMT said that you said, obviously from the side of the pool in Tenerife, every job on the tube will be put under threat. What's the RMT reaction to this announcement then?
Well, number one, about sitting around the pool. I mean, that was a real snide remark you made there, Julie, can I say?
Well, you were on holiday when it happened. I'd like to point out, by the way, when this happened last week, when this announcement was made and we knew in advance it would be made, as all the media outlets were, we called the RMT last week to get an interview with you, obviously, and they said you were away on union business in Tenerife, apparently, by the beach.
Very true. So when you go away to Sharm el-Sheikh this Christmas, I'll be expecting LBC people to ring up and say, well, get Julia back here because she shouldn't be entitled to an holiday.
I'm not saying you shouldn't be on holiday. Of course you're entitled to a holiday, but you missed the announcement because you were on holiday.
A cheap baby, Mark. I was told 6 days in advance that the meeting was taking place, and there was no way that I could get back to that meeting. However,
can I ask you quickly? Do you think they timed the announcement so that you weren't here?
No, nothing to do with that. No, nothing to do with that at all. I'd actually asked, did I want to shift the meeting? And of course, the importance. We wanted the meeting there, and it's not just me that's involved in the union. We've got an whole group of team together that goes out and does these meetings. So that's irrelevant. I know you're only having a laugh there, but get back to the real issue out there at the end of the day, is that London Underground delivered. So did the rest of the train operating companies, so did the bus companies, and so did a whole range of people at the Olympics last year. The success was that the infrastructure, emergency services, underground and train services come together, and they had all these champions, volunteers. But it was done on the basis there were so many people that you come and speak to. Now, basically, the Olympics is over, do away with them now, and it's all according what kind of a London Underground you want. Do we want London Underground to be successful? Yes. Do we want it to drive the trains for what people want? And you're quite rightly so. Why can't we have trains running all night? In fact, do we need trains running all night? I'd be quite happy, to be honest with you, with an extra 35, 45 minutes on a Friday night and Saturday night. I think that's more tenable.
But Bob, that's because you're closer to my age than you are to the sort of 18-year-olds who routinely go out, and you don't have a job where you finish a shift at 3 o'clock in the morning in the West End.
But Julia, at the end of the day, if you're going to run trains on a Friday and Saturday night, why aren't you running trains on a Monday night, Tuesday night and Wednesday night?
I understand the plan is that they're going to take it 7 days a week when they see how this goes.
Yeah, because Friday and Saturday night is quite clearly for partying. And that's what the drive is for partying. That's fine. We can have the tube running all night long if we want to have the tube running all night long. But you can't do it by taking 1,000 people out of the tube.
Okay.
It makes it unsafe.
Well, we're going to find out what the RMT is going to do about it coming up after an update on the traffic and travel, find out what's actually happening on the tube. I'm going to be admiringly at Bob's tan. We'll get to your questions on 0845 6060 973. Lots more to talk about, not just about the changes on the tube, the job losses, but also, of course, Bob's housing arrangements. That's all coming up. The time now is 2:16. And in the LBC 97.3 Travel Centre, it's J. Louise Knight.
Thank you very much, Julia. Starting in Hackney, where the A107 Amherst Road is still shut between Pembury Road and Mare Street. A building next to Hackney Central Station is being pulled down after it was found to be unsafe on Friday. So that's likely to take several days. Checking the cameras, though, things seem to be coping on surrounding routes. 10 bus routes, however, are on diversion whilst this is being done. So if you usually get a bus in the area, expect it to be delayed or cancelled, I'm afraid. Chipstead in Surrey, Outward Lane is shut for emergency repairs after a gas leak, and Roding Lane South in Redbridge, just near Redbridge Tube, shut between Redbridge Lane West and Vista Drive. That's for emergency repairs. If you're heading on down through Thornton Heath this afternoon, expect delays on the A23. Temporary lights are in at the junction with Headcorn Road for emergency repairs. And heading west on the M4, one lane is closed just after junction 11 at Reading. That's because of an overturned car with a short queue on the approach. Keeping London moving. Your next travel updates in half an hour.
This is LBC 97.3.
And if you look just to the right, just above the plough, you'll see the Pole Star, also known as Polaris or the Northern Star.
And what about that one over there?
That's the Vauxhall Corsa Sting. Often seen in 6 vibrant colours and features twin stripes, matching wing mirrors and alloy wheels. And if you were to guess the price, you'd be light years away because the price is just $8,995. Meet the star in stripes at your local Vauxhall retailer today, or for more information visit vauxhall.co.uk/sting. Terms and conditions apply.
If you run a business and you're near a computer, type the name of your company into Google now. Chances are everything you find will be good. But all it takes is one negative review and your reputation on any kind of digital and social media site can change just like that. Reputation.com can manage and improve your brand's image online to make sure potential customers find out about the good reputation you've worked so hard to build up. For a free report on your online reputation and to find out how we can help, visit Reputation.com.
The big red building on Golders Green Road.
Gold's Factory Outlet. Quality men's designer suits all at huge discounts. Super 100 fabrics, canvas fronts, padded lapels, working buttonholes, lined trousers. All in sizes 34 to 70-inch chest. Alteration tailor on the premises. With over 5,000 suits, jackets and trousers in stock, Gold's Factory Outlet, 110 to 114 Golders Green Road. Ask for Mr. Gold. Open Sunday to Thursday till 6, Friday till 2, closed Saturday.
The big red building on Golders Green Road.
Boiler breakdowns mean frosty bedrooms, icy showers, and unexpected bills that cause a nasty chill too. But you can call on the British Gas team as many times as you need with our boiler cover from just £18 a month. They'll get to you fast. Parts and labour are included, and there's an annual service. So, call 0800 316 9070 today or search British Gas Boiler Cover. Conditions and exclusions apply.
LBC 97.3 presents Cirque du Soleil's latest theatrical spectacular, Quidam, at London's Royal Albert Hall. Follow young Zoe and her spellbinding journey into the enchanting, whimsical world of Quidam. Shows start on January the 4th for a limited run. Tickets are on sale now. To find out more and to book tickets, visit lbc.co.uk. Cirque du Soleil's Quidam, where dream and reality become one.
Better than ever. New and improved. Podcasts from LBC 97.3. Never miss your favourite shows.
Nick, I hear the figures have gone up. Is that to do with this weekly get-together?
They're calling it the Clegg effect.
I doubt that very much.
Imagine if we could do it with a politician who was popular.
Catch up with the shows you've missed.
You find something ridiculous, and I do find the face veil ridiculous on a good day, I mean downright dangerous on a bad day. Why shouldn't you describe it in relatively aggressive language?
Forecasters say the exact arrival time and the course of the winds remains uncertain. Well, these people know nothing.
Listen whenever and wherever.
Ferrari is unprepared, but I am on the ball here, and you're through to Ask Boris on LBC 97.3.
Discover more with the all-new LBC podcast app from London's biggest conversation. LBC 97.3.
This is indeed LBC 97.3 and I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer, and live in the studio with me is Bob Crow, the RMT leader. Comrade Crow, inviting your calls, 0845 6060 973. You do, I have to say, Bob, you do invite very different reactions, very extreme reactions. 2 tweets I've had next to each other. I mean, 6 minutes ago. One from Al Bates saying, what a disgusting human being Bob Crow is, pathetic. And the next one, champion of a man, talking sense as always.
Yeah, I'll see. Well, I'm a Gemini, see, scowls. And you've got opposites, see, so it might be the 2 opposites coming out of me.
OK, can we take a punt on how many people had expected Bob Crow to bring up horoscopes in this hour? Because that was not on my list. Now, listen. We've been talking about the major announcement last Thursday from London Underground and TfL that we're going to have 24-hour tubes at the weekend, and also that's going to come along with 950 job losses. 200 jobs, they say, will be coming into play over that period, but fundamentally 950 jobs are going. I asked you before the travel, we wanted to find out what is the reaction of the RMT union. What are you going to do in response to that announcement?
Well, we're going to be balloting for strike action. Simple as that. We're not going to accept that we believe that our members' service is going to go down worse for the travelling public, and we don't believe the travelling public should have a worse service either. But the reason why we're balloting initially is that every single person who's been doing their job at the moment on London Underground have got to go through the humiliating experience of all reapplying for their own job, and then get an outside agency in. That's what London Underground are going to do, to interview all of the people that have been doing the job for the last 10, 15, 25 and 30 years.
That includes everyone, from cleaners to drivers to ticket office staff?
No, it's all the, what we call the middle managers, the senior supervisors and the duty managers. All of them have been doing the job at the moment for years upon years, who come to the event of evacuation, come to an emergency, and they've got to reapply for their own jobs. Now, why have they got to reapply for their own job that they're already doing? They're asking for voluntary severance. They're going to take people who want to put in for voluntary severance and go. That's fine. But for those who are left, already do the job.
Is this part of what was announced last week, or is just this an ongoing? I know you were only a few weeks ago you were balloting for maintenance workers to go on strike. I mean, it's difficult to keep track with all the ballots, to be fair.
Well, it is difficult because that's the reason why when we just had one company, London Underground, we just had one group of workers and one employer. Now you've got so much work that's been casualised and contracted out. There's numerous amount of contractors out there, and that's why it sounds that there's a lot more disputes than what there actually is. But we're not going to sit back and see our members going through a humiliating process of having to apply for their own job, which they're doing at the moment. We think it's absolutely scandalous. If a person can't do their job properly, then you use a disciplinary procedure.
But then you go on strike for that as well.
Well, no, we don't. We support a disciplinary procedure. What we don't support is managers abusing the disciplinary procedure and taking disproportionate action against our members.
Do you think this is a deliberate attempt by London Underground to get rid of people who are active in the union?
I would think that deep down they wouldn't say. I don't think they're going to go out their way to say if you're in the union we get rid of you. This is about changing the culture of London Underground to have London Underground run by and worked by people that have not been traditionally in the union for long. I do believe that is part of it.
And would that be a bad thing for the travelling public? Some might say. Many people listening right now who've been affected by tube strikes over the years would say that would be a jolly good thing.
Well, the amount of tube strikes has been is minimal. There's more.
How many have there been?
I haven't put me diary with me, Julia. I don't. I just say I'm
you had
not,
all that time on the beach last week. You could have been totting them up.
For someone who's supposed to do their own research for this programme, I thought you'd have done all that work before you've asked me that question.
I'm sorry about that.
But the fact is, amount of strikes has been minimal to the amount of people that have lost their jobs through being injured by the employer for accidents at work. But the fact is, what do they expect us to do? They expect us just to sit back and watch 1,000 people disagree off the underground. So next year, why not give it another 500 people and another 500 people? We're not saying that a person's job should be there for the sake of having a job, and we're all in favour of new technology. But I'll tell you what is being taken place at the moment in time is a complete farce by the mayor. He's trying to make out to the travelling public that he's going to bring you all these extra services where, in fact, what he's doing, basically, is he spun that as the story last week about all-night tube, rather than he's going to get rid of 1,000 people.
But the reality is that of the many millions of tube journeys there are every single day, only 3% start or end with any dealing with the ticket office whatsoever. And some of that is simply asking directions, and that could be done by a member of staff standing at the barrier. Why do we need to have... We've got all these machines, all these different ways which we can update our Oyster cards, buy tickets and machines. Why do we need to have the same number of ticket office staff when we've got the machines effectively doing a lot of their job?
But you've got them there, Julia. You go into a supermarket now and you've got all these pay-as-you-go stuff where you put the stuff in your way.
Self-service tills.
But you still need people behind the till to sell you the booze.
But yes, but you don't need 6 people on 6 tills. You need one person who's on 6 tills.
But it's not 6 people on 6 tills. Regarding all the major underground stations down below, they're highly heavily used with thousands of people going through. But as you start going out on the network, right, going out to places like, for example, Ealing Common, and pick any part of the network that you want, Stonebridge Park and areas like that. You've got less people actually using the station, but you've still got the same problems that take place. And do you honestly believe, Joe, I'll ask you a question, when you got off a train, if you got off a train at 2 or 3 in the morning, would you like to see a couple of members of staff there?
I'd like to see a member of staff, yes.
A member of staff. What about if the A member of staff's dealing with 4 or 5 yobs who are coming home drunk?
What about 2 members of staff dealing with that's the trouble, is that fundamentally, unless you have a member of staff every 10 yards, you're never going to deal with that problem.
What they're saying is, they're going to put all this CCTV in, they're going to have all these special screens, have these help points. I'm not being extreme now. Say that because we deal with victims. Say that to the woman that's just been raped. Say that to the man that's just been mugged, your father, your grandfather. Did the CCTV help? Did the help line help? No, it never. It may have convicted the people in court, but we don't want the incident to happen in the first place.
We don't want to get people after the event. Can I clarify, though, as a result of the announcement from the London Underground and Boris Johnson last week, you are saying the RMT is going to ballot for strike action by your members. And your members include not just drivers, but ticket office staff, maintenance staff, everyone across the board.
Everyone
managers.
works for London Underground. We're going to be serving notice on London Underground tomorrow that we're balloting for strike action. You can take that from me now.
Have you even had any conversations with London Underground bosses? I mean, last time we spoke, I was stunned that you'd balloted for strike action without actually having a one-on-one conversation in a room, face-to-face, with any of the London Underground bosses.
They had the meeting last week, told our representatives that the 90-day consultation is going to take place, that people have to reapply for redundancy by January the 17th, and that's the reason why we can't wait about why Rome's burning and we're twiddling our thumbs.
So there's not going to be any more negotiation, no talks?
Oh no, we're quite happy to have talks. I mean, we was given a fait accompli. We weren't told there last week, what do you think of our plans? What do you think about all-night working? All it was just really a propaganda show so that Boris Johnson and the Chief Executive, Mike Brown, could stand down outside 55 the Broadway and say to the press about all-night working and the vision for London Underground.
Okay.
Well, I've got a vision for London Underground, and that's more and more people using it, but also that it's adequately staffed. Not what they're trying to do is decimate the staff on the Underground.
And if you have a ballot for strike action and your members vote to strike, what will be the purpose of that strike? To get the London Underground to change its mind so that we don't have the job cuts, that we don't have 24-hour tubes at the weekend? What will be the actual outcome you'll be wanting?
Well, the outcome that we're looking for is every job matters, and we want them to demonstrate to us that the job a person does now is not required anymore.
And if they can do that, then you'll be fine with it?
Well, if they can demonstrate to us that they don't need them jobs anymore, it's not just my union that's going to be in dispute, it's going to be the Transport Salary Staff Association as well, because they'll be balloting jointly with us. So we'll be having a joint rally tomorrow night in London, both Transport Salary Staff Association, TSSA, and RMT. And as far as I'm concerned, it'll be both unions taking action to defend not only its members, but the services that they give out to the travelling public. OK,
well, lots of questions coming in on this, thick and fast. 0845 6060 973. We'll go straight to the phone lines after an update on the news. To get your questions on air, just give us a call, 0845 6060 973. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer on LBC 97.3. The time now is 2:30. And here are the latest news headlines. It's Simon Conway.
The leader of the RMT union has told LBC 97.3 his members will be balloted for strike action over plans to cut 750 jobs on the Underground. Bob Crow also says proposals to make the tube 24 hours at weekends will be unsafe for passengers.
Do you really want your wife, your girlfriend, your daughter coming home at 3, 4 in the morning with a vast bunch of drunks on the train with one singular person? Now, if we're going to talk about all-night running, I'm for talking about all-night running, but I want to make sure that our staff can get home safely in a staff taxi. I want to see that there's maximum amount of staff on the Underground.
People living next door to the flat in Brixton, where 3 women are thought to have been held as slaves for 30 years, say they heard crying coming from the home. The Met Police are now looking into 13 addresses in connection with the allegations. Claims that Royal Bank of Scotland deliberately drove successful small businesses to collapse have been called shocking by the Business Secretary Vince Cable. A report claims the lender forced some companies to go bust so it could buy their property at a discount. And the Prime Minister says he's delighted one of his constituents arrested during a Greenpeace protest in the Arctic has been granted bail. Philip Bull from Chipping Norton is the last of 6 Britons to be freed. London's travel in Hackney demolition work means that the A107 Amherst Road is closed between Pembury Road and Mare Street. And London's weather dry with sunny spells through the afternoon, feeling chilly with highs of 7 degrees. And that's the temperature right now at Big Ben. LBC 97.3, it's 2:32.
LBC 97.3.
Dolphin watching from the deck of a catamaran. Sun-drenched beaches that stretch on forever. Dramatic views from volcanic peaks. Make lasting memories of the Canary Islands. Fly British Airways from London Gatwick to Tenerife and Lanzarote from £69 one way with our hand baggage only option. Book now at ba.com/Gatwick. British Airways, to fly, to serve, to Europe. Limited availability, travel in January and February. See ba.com/Gatwick for conditions.
Are your teeth stopping you smiling? Do you hate the thought of false teeth? Look forward to a confident new you with dental implants from TDC Implant Centres. You can have a full set of fixed teeth restored in just 1 day, or an hour for a single tooth. Now you can eat what you want and smile when you want in just one day. Don't delay. Call TDC Implant Centres on 0800 012 2086 or see smileinaday.co.uk.
I could be at home now. Maybe watching telly with the kids. Or I was thinking about going for a pint. Instead, I've punctured my lung and it's slowly filling up with blood. I'm going into cardiac arrest now. Silly place to overtake, really. Still, you live and learn, don't you? Don't you?
Motorcyclists, think. Don't ride too fast. Transport for London. Every journey matters.
Listen. If you're a landlord, you might not recognise that sound. It's the sound of your phone not ringing. With Landlord Pro from British Gas, you won't have to deal with repair and maintenance for your tenants' boilers, central heating, electrics, plumbing or drains. From £21 a month with £50 excess, it includes parts and labour, a gas boiler safety certificate, plus there's a 10% multi-property discount until 31st of December. Landlord Pro takes the hassle out of property management, helping you get on with your life. So if you'd like more of this, call 0800 975 2726 or search British Gas Landlords. Conditions apply.
LBC 97.3. This is London's biggest conversation with Julia Hartley-Brewer.
Good afternoon to you. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. This is LBC 97.3, London's biggest conversation. I'm joined in the studio by Bob Crow, the RMT leader. He's live in the studio, taking your calls till 3 o'clock. If you want to call in, 0845 6060 973 and ask him a question live, do so. Don't forget, you don't just have to listen. You can watch live on our website, lbc.co.uk. And I have to say, Comrade Crow is sporting a fabulous tan from his holiday in Tenerife last week. Well worth giving me a filthy look there. Well worth having a look there. You've just learned he's a Gemini, which is something I did not expect to learn in this conversation. We've also learned that the RMT, along with the TSSA, will be holding a joint ballot to strike against the announcements last week about the 24-hour tube and the job losses. Lots of your calls coming in on this. Let's go straight to those phone lines. Michael's in Ilford. Hi, Michael.
Hello, Julia.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon to you and to Bob Crow, my fellow Gemini, it appears.
OK, let's not start all this. I don't want to go down the horoscope route. This is going to go horribly wrong. What do you want to ask, Bob?
I'm rather concerned. Would like to bring to people's attention about two major safety issues, which I understand probably or possibly are not being addressed with these people in the ticket offices that are going to be put out of work. The people in the ticket offices do not just give information and tickets. They are, like all underground staff, to my knowledge, track competent, which means they are licensed and tested regularly to be able to go down onto the track and into the tunnels, if necessary, to evacuate stalled trains or for other usage. Mm-hmm. Now, if these 750 people are going to be lost from that job, I'd like to know how, if an emergency occurs, this is going to be coped with, because I understand also that even if the fire brigade turn up, they are not allowed into the tunnels unless they are under the supervision of London Underground staff.
OK, let's put this to Bob.
Well, Michael's quite right. I mean, if you remember the terrible scenario that took place after the bombings in London a few years ago, that's when these groups of people that was told not necessary no more were the heroes. Not just them, obviously, but the emergency service as well, and also some of the travelling public. They got involved as well. But that's what the spin that forcibly the mayor has been trying to do. He's trying to make out these people just sitting there punching tickets all day, which is a nonsense. And the event of a train breaking down, event of a fire, event that staff have to, passengers have to evacuate, these people go down and help the travelling public get to a safe place. And there's nothing more calming for the travelling public who are panicking, who need to be evacuated, than seeing members of staff, highly visible, who are experienced at getting people to a place of safety and helping, obviously, the emergency services get to their point. So this is another part of the spin that the mayor and probably central office of the Conservative Party have been trying to put over to try and make out that, in the move towards Boris Johnson challenging for the leadership of the Conservative Party.
Is this one of the big issues for you, the safety issue, in terms of your demand for a ballot for strike action?
It's safety, a number of issues. Obviously, we don't believe it's safe that you can take 750 people out of the system. We don't believe it's even more unsafe that you can run services all night with less people. And thirdly, on top of it as well, we do believe the travelling public are paying extra for fares and going to get a worse service.
In terms of the strike action you want to call, what do you expect that to entail? An all-out 24-hour strike, walk-out, work to walk?
I believe it'd be more than 24 hours, Julia. I mean, I don't think we could... the seriousness of our members, I don't think that... and by the way, I hope that this can be resolved at any day strike action. And I really mean that sincerely. But the same token goes, I don't believe that a one-day strike will get this madman at Central Office, Johnson, to change his mind. I think we need to have quite a significant amount of few days of action.
A few days of action. We could talk about 4 or 5 days of non-stop strike action?
Possibly.
So you're talking about an entire week, one of the biggest cities in the world, the biggest capitals, major capital city of our country, and having no tube service for 5 days.
I'm not saying a week. I'm not saying it could not be a week either. But there's 2 unions involved here. There's ourselves and our colleagues from the TSSA. And that'd be something we have to discuss with them as well. But certainly, the initial feedback that I've had from London Underground staff, and I don't know what even union they're in, when they approached me going to and from work over the last few days, have said to me quite clearly that unless London Underground change their mind, we've got to let them know that we're really serious about this and take a significant amount of days of action.
And how soon could that be? Before Christmas?
I don't think it'll be before Christmas, because if we serve notice tomorrow, which we're going to do, then we wouldn't get our ballot back to the end of December. So I don't think there'll be action before Christmas.
January sales?
Certainly, I think January, yeah.
So we're looking at possibly 2, 3, 4, 5 days of the tube being out of service. Now, you talk about the need, for safety, and obviously that's a massive issue for people. But we're also talking about customer service, aren't we? We're also talking about the need that people have to use the tube to get to and from work. You say all this isn't about the nurses, it's not about people on low pay, but those are the very people who rely on public transport to get to and from work, especially with shifts at unsocial hours. They can't drive to work. There's nowhere to park. How on earth do you expect ordinary people, the people you claim to represent, you claim to serve, how do you expect them to get to work?
Well, it's a bit rich asking that question, really, about customer service, when it's London Underground that are taking 1,000 people off the job to make it actually worse service for the customer, and by paying more fares for it. And the fact is, if the mayor was turning around and saying, I'm really concerned about cleaners getting to work and nurses getting to work and low-paid people getting to work early in the morning, I can understand that.
You're not concerned about it, are you?
Well, we are, because, at the end of the day, the fact is that we believe that the actual first train in the morning is more crucial than the last one, because a lot of the nurses and doctors raise the questions with us, especially ancillary workers in hospitals. The problem they have is getting the first train to work on a Sunday morning when the trains are not to 7 o'clock. So if we really want to do something for nurses, then start the service earlier in the morning, then worry about those people who are coming home 2, 3 in the morning.
But regardless of whether it's a late train or an early train, whatever it is, at the end of the day, if you really care about ordinary people in London and the people who are, by the way, most of them earning an awful lot less than your members, train drivers, what is it, 55k a year? What we're talking, top 15% earners in the country? No, you're not my union leader. I wish you were.
But you earn more than them.
But no, I'm not planning to go on strike and holding London to ransom.
No, but you don't need to go on strike, do you? You can negotiate your own rate of pay.
Like you do.
Because unfortunately you're in your position. No, I don't negotiate my rate of pay. My members decide my rate of pay at an annual general meeting. But going back to the question that you originally put, the fact of the matter is, does anyone honestly believe as a trade union that we're going to sit back and watch 1,000 people be taken off the job, make the staff that stay on working for London Underground reapply for their own jobs, put our members in danger, put the travelling public in danger, and make a worse service? We wouldn't be worth our salt if we just sat back and done nothing. And that's why we're balloting.
And even though you're going to cause absolute misery and chaos for millions of ordinary Londoners on average minimum wage pay who are trying just to get to work to earn an honest crust.
I'd rather cause misery and pain for those London commuters than 6 months down the road, then someone gets raped, someone gets assaulted, someone gets mugged. It'd be worth every minute of it.
I don't know what to say to that. I really don't. I'd love to hear your thoughts. 5 days without the tube for the sake of 1,000 jobs. 0845 6060 973. Would you support that strike? Be fascinated to hear your thoughts on that. 0845 6060 973 is the number to call. We've got lots and lots of calls coming in. Lots of questions. Feeksy is tweeted to say, does Uncle Bob ever speak to people in ticket offices? They're ignorant, scruffy, rude and unhelpful. What would you say to that?
Oh, I don't believe that. They all wear a uniform. They all look very smart. I don't know what ticket office she's been at. Perhaps she's been at the theatre ticket office rather than the London Underground ticket office.
Stephen tweets to say, can you ask Bob how drivers getting paid more increases safety? The S word seems to be his only argument to justify strikes.
Well, this ain't about money. We're not asking for anybody to be paid any more. What we're saying is that we don't believe that 1,000 people being taken off London Underground is going to make it safer for our members or the travelling public.
Let's talk to Barry now. He's in Chingford. Hi, Barry.
Oh, hi. I agree with Bob. You take 1,000 people off, it ain't going to make it any safer. It's going to make it even worse. And the way round it is to make public transport tax deductible. For example, my workers spend about £50 a week. If only I could pay that and deduct it from their wages, that would be fantastic. They wouldn't pay tax. Do you understand what I'm saying? They at the moment have to pay their fair share of a taxed salary.
Out of your net income, you're saying it's an expense of working, and therefore it should come out of gross income. Do you like that idea, Bob?
I was saying an idea worth looking at. To get more people using the tube, and also...
Hold on a minute, you keep saying we can't get any more people using the tube, can we? We're already packed.
Well, we can get more people using the tube, and I mean...
Well, if it went 24 hours.
What the question's been put up there is on the basis... Yeah, but is this 24-hour thing, Julia, is not going to be rescheduled. London wants to reschedule its life for 24 hours. The banks will still open 9 to 5. People will still use internet banking. This is to get, in the majority, people home from clubs and pubs later than what they are now, even more boozed up than what they are now. Not saying that everyone who uses the tube comes home boozed up, but you are going to have more incidents.
Okay, let's go to one more call before we have to go to an update on the traffic and travel. John's in Woolwich. Hi, John.
Hi, Julia. I want to ask both yourself and Bob a question, actually.
Okay.
What's going to happen on the tube if there is a major incident with somebody that is threatening somebody else with a knife or a gun or something else? Who's going to respond? Because the British Transport Police are not available all the time.
Do you have personal experience of this?
I'm a bus driver. I had an experience last night on number 53 where a passenger threatened two other passengers with a gun. He didn't show the gun, he just said he had it. And I called the police, and 20 minutes later, no police had turned up.
Wow.
So I'm still waiting for the police. I got a guy just standing outside the door giving loads and loads of people abuse. At one stage, the two guys involved had their hands around each other's throats right outside my cab door.
So a very, very threatening, intimidating situation for you and the other passengers.
I'm on my own. Who's to help me?
What would you say to that, Bob? I suppose the situation, if it was on a train, even more worrying because people are trapped inside a tunnel. But then I suppose more likely to have other passengers on.
Well, I mean, what the question there from the person writing in now just said, I believe it's happening all over the place. It's not sometimes the significance of a gun. I was travelling pretty recently on the C2C line where it was a terrible event. There was a young Asian lad, I don't know if he was Muslim, Hindu, I don't know, where a group of people got in. 2 of them were black, 2 of them were white, and decided to open up a packet of bacon and sling it at this lad.
Oh, my goodness.
And was making all kinds of racist remarks to him. And these were 2 black people and 2 white people. And I'm sitting there on my own with this lad having it done to him, saying to myself, am I an have-a-go hero? What do I do? Fortunately, I didn't know this was going to happen. I told them to stop it, where one of them started slinging some bacon at me. I told him it was a non-runner. And by pure chance, when we got to Barking Station, 2 British Transport Police got on and nabbed them, which obviously had been told beforehand. Now,
you felt that was probably quite lucky.
Quite lucky. But I was fortunate there was 2 police who got on there, whether it's by chance or not. What's that going to happen at 3 o'clock in the morning?
But again, unless we have British Transport Police, or unless we have staff at every single tube train in every single station, I worry that that's an issue.
It's
that
a deterrent,
happens right
Julia.
now.
It's a deterrent. If you're a woman and you're on a platform at night and your next train's 15 minutes, because we're talking about 15-minute interviews for trains, and you've got 3 or 4 lads who are playing up and they feel threatened, the woman, if they know there's a member of staff there, they feel safe to go to the member of staff, talk to them or whatever.
I've got to be honest, Bob, I feel safer knowing that you were there. Time now is 2:47. We'll get back to your questions for Bob in just a few minutes. Here in the LBC 97.3 Travel Centre, though, it's J. Louise Knight.
Thank you very much, Julia. Problems continue in Hackney, where the A107 Amherst Road is still closed between Pembury Road and Mare Street. Now, it's after a building next to Hackney Central Station was found to be unsafe on Friday evening, so demolition work started this morning. So it's still closed both ways. Traffic is coping on surrounding routes. It will start to get busier, though, because it will be closed for the rest of today, I imagine for the next couple of days as well. 10 bus routes remain on diversion as well, so expect delays throughout this afternoon's rush hour in Hackney. Outward Lane in Chipstead in Surrey is closed. That's for emergency repairs after a gas leak. And emergency repairs near Redbridge Underground Station means that Roding Lane South is shut at the junction with Redbridge Lane West. Thornton Heath, temporary lights have gone in on the A23 for emergency repairs today, just at the junction with Headcorn Road, so that's slowing you down. And the A20 at Lee Green down to one lane in both directions approaching Burnt Ash Road. Once again, that's due to emergency repairs. Good news for public transport, though. Tubes and trains are all running to time. Keeping London moving. Your next travel updates in half an hour.
This is LBC 97.3.
Vitabiotics helped pioneer the concept of different vitamins for men and women, creating Well Man for me
and Well Woman for me, with iron for energy release and vitamin D for my immune system.
Well Man and Well Woman from Vitabiotics, the UK's #1 vitamin company.
Available from Boots, pharmacies and vitabiotics.com.
At Amazing Tiles, we know that the most important design is you, which is why we offer a huge choice of porcelain and ceramic tiles and individually customised water jet cut designs. And if you buy now, get a third off plain tiles at wholesale prices when you buy 5 square metres or more. For amazing quality, amazing service and amazing prices, visit Amazing Tiles Showroom and Warehouse on Park Royal Road, London. Open 7 days a week, or call 0208 83 84 900. Amazing Tiles. The only limit is your imagination.
I used to feel on my own with my credit score. Then a friend told me about Experian Credit Expert, which helped me understand my credit score and showed me how to improve it. So I got accepted for my mortgage and got a much better rate too.
Experian Credit Expert has helped over 5 million customers. Get your free 30-day trial at experian.co.uk and see how we can help you. Experian Credit Expert. We help you take control.
New members only. Trial period starts on registration and monthly fee applies after trial. See website for details.
Max had been working on his speech for 4 months. Now it was time to take centre stage at his best friend's wedding. Oh, the pressure to be funny. As he stood there and took a deep breath, it felt like 10,000 eyes were upon him. But instead of words coming out of his mouth, snot streamed out of his nose like a leaky tap. If only he'd had a Kleenex balsam pocket pack with him. He could have plugged that irritating drip with our most soothing tissue. Where's your Kleenex when you need it?
This is so kind of you. I can easily get the bus.
Listen, it's no trouble at all.
Oh.
I'll take you in the car, drop you off.
You are quite the gent, Simon.
Well, I want to say last night was really special, Kate.
It's Jane.
There's an alternative route that's 3 minutes faster.
TomTom. Quicker journeys when you need them.
From dazzling daylight to romantic moonlight. In no time. From the beauty of nature to the beauty of people. From all-day-long recreation to all-night-long cheerfulness. In no time.
Enjoy Cyprus. Follow your heart to experience the island's breathtaking beauty, and you'll find that everything in Cyprus is a mere heartbeat away.
Cyprus, in your heart.
Visit cyprus.com.
LBC 97.3. This is London's biggest conversation with Julia Hartley-Brewer.
Good afternoon, I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. This is LBC 97.3, London's biggest conversation. The conversation is right now with the RMT leader, Comrade Bob Crow. He's been live in the studio since 2 o'clock. Don't forget you can watch it on our website, lbc.co.uk. It's got a lovely tan. We've also learnt today 2 or 3 crucial bits of information: that there will be a strike ballot by RMT and TSSA members over the announcement last week from London Underground of the 24-hour tube and 950 job losses. There is an expectation that there will be a strike early in January. We could be looking at up to 5 days, not just a 24-hour strike as we've seen before. We've also learnt that Bob is a Gemini. Now, we've got lots of calls on the board, but I would feel it would be remiss of me not to mention one of the main sticklers we've had sticking points between us over the years when we've had our little chats, and that is your housing situation. Are you still in your social housing?
Yes, still in there.
And still earning more than enough money to buy your own place?
Yes, I could buy my own place, but why? Don't you ask the rest of my family who live at home with me whether they should have to move as well? Why does it just down to me to buy a house? Why don't the rest of my family who have lived there for 30 years with all their friends they've got, why have they got to move because of I do a particular job?
One as well, because they'd move with you and it's your home.
Why should I have to move?
Can I say, one of the few things you and I have ever agreed on is we don't approve of right to buy, buying your council property.
That's right.
Now, you've always chosen, even though you could afford to not buy your council property because you say it should be available for future generations.
Yeah.
Although not generations right now who are desperately in need of a 3-bedroom property. How about the Help to Buy scheme then? That's the government scheme where you can get a sort of guarantee from the government for your loan up to £600,000. Would that not be suitable for you?
I've not got a problem at all with people buying private houses. Nothing at all with people buying private houses. What I'm against is social housing. That's the problem that we've got at the moment.
You're against social housing?
No, I'm against people buying social housing.
Well, I'm not suggesting you buy social housing. Why don't you go... You want to keep social housing available for the next generation. What about the people right now? On my show on Friday, we spoke to a lovely man called Carl. He's got 5 kids in a 2-bedroom place.
Nothing wrong with that.
They need a 3 or 4-bedroom property. You've got a 3-bedroom property. Why don't you go and buy one on the private sector, and then that property would be available for people like Carl?
There's nothing wrong with that for those people that wish to buy. But the fact of the matter is, the reason why we're in a situation at the moment is that all the council housing, under Thatcher, under John Major, under Blair, under Gordon Brown, where they allowed for social housing to be sold, meant there's no social housing. That's what's pushed the prices up.
And also people like you who were in social housing that you don't need to be in. You could go by. Now
But where's it saying in the rules, Julia, that for someone who pays their rent every week, right, who doesn't claim social security,
subsidised rent.
Well, it's not subsidised.
It is a subsidised rent. You pay less than the local market rent.
It's not subsidised, but no one subsidises the rent, Julia. The house is owned by a housing association.
But it could be available to someone else. Look,
but it's not being subsidised.
Because I knew you were coming in today, I did have a little look at the weekend on properties that I thought you could buy using the Help to Buy scheme, Help Bob to Buy scheme, as we can call it. Now, look, you're on, well, papers keep saying, you never confirm us, 145k with your expenses, 6-figure salary, thank you very much. I looked at properties. You've got a 3-bedroom place in Woodford Green, North East London. I looked at 3-bedroom properties on Rightmove in Woodford Green. 48 properties came up. Price range, £224,000. Lovely 3-bedroom bungalow, all the way up. Well, you've got the 3-bedroom semi-detached house, 400,000 there. Wandsworth Road looks lovely. There's a 455,000 3-bedroom semi-detached, very nice. And if you really wanted to go for it, 950,000. There's a 3-bedroom detached house there. Doesn't that look lovely?
But why should my family have to move? Because of me. They're independent people. So if you're...
There you go, I'm going to give you those. You can keep those and take those away.
Thanks very much. I'll wrap me fish and chips in it later on when I go home tonight. But however, the fact is, I'm one individual. Why has the rest of my family got to be determining what I do?
But they don't have to live with you, do they? Your kids are all grown up, aren't they?
Why should they be forcibly moved out their house for paying their rent? They've been kicking people out their houses for not paying their rent. We pay our rent and we're being victimised. But my daughter...
Families move all the time.
But why should they have to move, Julie, all the time? Forcibly moved. People move because they want to move.
No. It's not about you being forced to... No, well, actually, lots of people in the private sector move because they downsize because they can't afford it, or they upscale because they can afford it. I'm saying to you, you're a good man. You work hard. You do a wonderful job for your members. And I believe you're a deeply moral man. I know you're a family man. We were talking in the break about your children and your grandchildren. But you know that there are people right now in London who are desperate, absolutely desperate for a home of their own. They can't possibly afford the private sector. If you can, do you not have a moral duty to leave that home back in the public sector so that someone else can have it?
I've got no moral duty at all. I was born in a council house. As far as I'm concerned, I die in one. But the reality is, what the real issue out there is the rates of pay are so low.
Not for you.
The rates of pay are so low for people in London is that they can't afford to buy property. What we should be really doing is having a campaign to raise wages for people in London that can't afford to buy an house so they can afford to buy an house. But basically, if I moved out of my house tomorrow and bought a place, the first thing you're saying is, Comrade Crow leaves his roots.
No one would say that.
No.
Do you know what?
You would
I
do.
would. Do you know
You
what?
would do.
If you moved out of your house and bought somewhere in the private sector, I'd come and help move your stuff.
Oh, Christ almighty. Well, that saved a few quid anyway.
Exactly.
That saved £700.
I'm stronger than I look.
That saved £750 removal van.
Okay.
It's an absolute nonsense. The issue at the end of the day is that people should have the right to live in private accommodation or rental accommodation if they so wish.
If
and
it's
the fact
available.
is, if there was loads of council houses around the place, they'd be saying, Lord Crow of Woodford now lives in a 3-bedroom detached house and has forgot his roots. I'm the only one down my road who pays their rent, and I'm the one being victimised.
Victimised. You can afford to pay your rent on your salary. Talking of lordships, if you ever got offered a peerage, would you take it?
No chance at all.
Getting offered it or taking it?
I got offered to go on to Celebrity Big Brother. 60,000 quid they offered me to go on Celebrity Big Brother.
I'd have paid to watch that.
And I said no. That was a starting offer. If it had been a weekend, I'd have done it for a weekend charity or something like that. But I don't think my members would be too happy with me spending 5 weeks tucked up with models around the world and not doing their job for them.
Don't think the models have been too happy either.
They might have been happy either.
Let's squeeze a call. I'm very remiss. Gary's in Bristol. Gary, what's your question?
Well, I find it quite good that you mentioned the supermarkets having the self-service, but they still need staff. You don't notice it. They may have 2 staff and maybe 8 checkouts, thus losing some jobs. But it would be good if you actually went on strike probably for maybe 3 weeks, because that could probably prompt Transport for London to bring in a sort of closed shop and get rid of the union.
I like you're going it from a completely the other angle.
Really?
Okay.
How would you go about, what would you do if they were to bring in a closed shop, and as is the way of the world, the tube should actually be getting rid of drivers and be going over to practically full automation?
Gary, you're going to have to leave it there. What do you want to say, Bob? We've got just coming up.
Well, number one, I don't think that'd be the case at all, Gary. I mean, at the end of the day, what power has a worker got at the end of the day, except for the power that they are employed for? That's withdrawing their labour, because that's what they sell is their labour. It's the only real power they've got, is the threat or to take action to get the employer to take it seriously. The fact of the matter is, automation of trains are not going to come in. It's the trains on the Victoria line have been automatic since the middle of the 1960s, but they wouldn't dare run them without a driver because they broke down. How would you get 800 people off a tube? Would you fancy your pregnant daughter, your pregnant wife being stuck on a tube and you couldn't get them off? Imagine the panic down there in the middle of the summer with temperatures in the 100 degrees down there, with 800 people trying to scramble off a track with electricity on. It's all a nonsense. This bloke, all he's doing, he's playing to the gallery because he wants to be the leader of the Conservative Party and he wants to be Prime Minister and he wants to do things that he believes opportunist. And that's why we should expose this mayor, who's an absolute joke and a scandal. He was the one who said, I will keep the booking offices open if I got elected, and he's gone back on his word, and that shows you the kind of politician that he really is.
Have you ever met Boris Johnson?
Met him once. He's never met me once as General Secretary. I met him on Any Questions once. And he was putting all his arms all over me. It was like he wanted to do the can-can at one point.
Maybe he was a Gemini as well.
I don't know what he's a Gemini. I think he's a lot of things, to be honest with you. He's certainly got a split personality, that's for sure.
Bob Crow, it has, as always, been a pleasure. Twitter is alive and well with reaction to your appearance here today. Don't forget you can watch it back on our website, lbc.co.uk. Always an absolute pleasure having Comrade Crow in the studio. RMT Union, as you've heard earlier on, we're going to see strike action in January, possibly up to 5 days. Your reaction, 0845 6060 973.
On FM, online, on your mobile and on digital radio. This is LBC 97.3.